Thanks for joining. My name is Justin Margario. I am with Experian's Early Careers team. We've assembled quite a panel here today. I will start off the presentation with giving us a little bit of information about Experian at a high level. I'll hand it over to my peer, Madison, who will go over our internship program, the highlights, our timeline, some of the roles that we have available. And then towards the end, we're going to have a panel discussion with three of our past interns, Taj, Pravesh, and Abby, and they will introduce themselves later and give their experience story. But that towards the end, there's your time to ask questions of our panel to see what it's really like to be an intern here at Experian and how it jumpstarts your career. So without further ado, I will move over here to talking a little bit about Experian. So there are many facets to Experian with data analytics and innovation at our core. Our portfolio consists of B2B as well as B2C businesses. On the business-to-business side, we have our credit service business that has the richest insights of consumer data. For example, our Ascend platform is the world's leading data information platform that helps lenders make decisions on consumers. So when you go and ask for a loan for something, they use that data to determine if they can lend to you. Our decision analytics business, we deliver custom insights that help businesses transform their data into wise business decisions. And then on a marketing services side, we have the largest database of non-credit data on consumers that helps businesses use consumer insights like demographics and behaviors to make smarter marketing decisions. And then on the B2C side, we have our consumer service business where the mission there is to help consumers gain access and achieve their financial goals through our products like Experian Go and a Boost, as well as marketplaces for insurance and car insurance, or for health insurance as well as car insurance. And we empower our consumers. So you can see here on this little pie chart the types of transactions that we help facilitate on a day-to-day basis through credit checks. So again, when you go and apply for a loan, they use Experian data to look at your credit history. We help qualify patients for coverage as well as insurance claims, just to name a few. But the most important part, and really what our mission is here at Experian, is financial access to all. So we provide consumers with access to credit for free, as well as help them understand their financial history so that they can grow and improve their financial lives. So to summarize all of this, we're all about consumer empowerment. We take all of this data and analytics and bring it together so that individuals and companies, consumers can confidently manage decisions to create opportunities at times that are most important to them. So applying for a loan or buying a house or getting credit for those big purchases. Experian at a snapshot. So here you can see at a high level some of our accolades. So we are a global company in 44 different countries. We are just over 20,000 employees globally, and close to half of our workforce is female. We have lots of accolades down here at the bottom. So our culture here is rich. We're all about bringing your best self to work. That's how we are innovative in the way that we bring lots of unique perspectives to opportunities. But you can see across the bottom, we've won a great place to work in multiple different regions and across multiple different platforms. And then we have 8 business resource groups that really are the core to who we are, that this allows our employees to build a sense of community, but also gives us opportunities to grow and develop our employee base to help us in that innovative work that we do for financial inclusion of all. So that's a high level of Experian. I will now hand it over to Madison to go through our internship opportunities and our timeline.
Thanks, Justin. Hi, everyone. My name is Madison. I am a talent acquisition partner for Early Careers. Justin's my counterpart. I focus on our internships as well as our MBA leadership development program. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the purpose of our internship program, more in depth about what you'll get out of it. And then we can talk more about the application process. So to start, so the goal within the internship program here at Experian is to find capable and driven students who are currently working for their bachelor, master's, or PhD. We really want to introduce these students to Experian with the ultimate goal of building a pipeline for the future full-time positions. The internship program is very hands-on, especially with the teams that you're placed in. Throughout the program, you'll work closely with your manager and your team. They'll be measuring your success for a potential full-time position. That is the ultimate goal, I think. And depending on what school you're at, if you're a quarter system or semester, we do have two different cohorts. The first cohort starts in May with an end date in August, and the second starts in June with an end date in September. So we can go ahead to the next slide where we can talk about, creating a uniquely Experian experience. So here we have the 5 pillars of our internship program. First and foremost, we have professional work. This is where you'll spend most of your time on your team. It's very important for the interns to feel that they have a seat at the table. So you're completely integrated with the team, going to team meetings, meeting with managers, working on live projects and assignments. We have also developed a robust professional development aspect to our programming. We want to, provide students with these kind of development sessions, not only to help them with their role at Experian, but also in their future career. This summer we had 4 or 3 different sessions. For example, we did personal branding, navigating your career and building a network, personal insights and strength finders, just to name a few. We also work with resume review and evaluations at the end of your stay. So you'll have a talent acquisition partner work hand in hand with you to help, look at your resume, see what needs to be added, what might not need to be there. So it's a great resource. Thirdly, we have business acumen. We want our students to have the full experience of feeling a part of the team. Like I said, here at Experian, we're encouraging our interns to network, attend the all-hand meetings, and are invited to attend executive lunch and learn sessions. The lunch and learn sessions were really popular last year. We heard from key leaders from across several different business units, and they shed light on their career path, why they chose Experian, and there is a long Q&A session, and they're just there to, spread their knowledge and their career path, which is always really helpful to hear. Fourth, we have networking. We really encourage students to take advantage of their time here and, join ERGs and communicate across different company Teams channels. You are treated like a full-time employee and have many, not all, but many of the same resources that our Experian employees do enjoy. The last pillar, we have service to others. Giving back is a pillar to our Experian's values. Students are given 2 VTO, which are volunteer time off days, which we strongly encourage them to take. We also, as a team, have an intern volunteer day where they learn about our grant work that we're working on at Experian, as well as a virtual volunteer event. Last year we worked with Ronald McDonald House, and we record stories for children who, if you're not familiar, are in hospitals, and it's a really great organization if you haven't heard of it. Here we can talk about different opportunities for our internships. So we are a technical company, so many of our opportunities will fall in the technical and analytical space. That's not to say that we don't have a variety of opportunities. We have many in the creative leading roles, HR, as well as positions in the corporate space as well. What we're looking for in the interview process, your degree is a way to get your foot in the door, but there are many other aspects that are important during the interview process. To start, curiosity. We want you to bring questions to your interview. We're looking for people who are sharp, who have innovative minds, who we can see, a potential to grow within our company. Our culture is also very important to us. We want to see someone who shows that they are a team player, can adapt to different situations and teams that they're introduced to. As you know, and I'm sure you understand that Experian is a very large organization. So it is also important to be very adaptable, working well with other teams cross-functionally, and are self-driven. And before you go to the interview, there's some advice that I'd like to just kind of share with you as a recruiter, somebody who is looking at resumes and talking to candidates day in, day out. This may go without saying, but it's always very important to do just have a basic understanding of what the company does before your first call. You should be able to have like a high level conversation with the recruiter about what the company does. Always bring questions that shows, that you're serious about this position. At Experian, we value bringing your whole self to work. So that means we care about the whole person. Obviously your job is very important, but we understand that, individuals, our organization are multifaceted, and we want to know what makes you unique. So always highlight what you bring to the table, what is unique that you will be able to, add to your team. That's something to always highlight. Many of you, I'm sure, have strong LinkedIn presence. It's important to continue to grow and leverage your network during your job search. And lastly, in the interview, bring your innovative ideas to the conversation. We want people who are forward thinkers. This is, people who are making and initiating positive change. So that is something that we definitely look for during the interview process. And if that can be read on your resume as well. So our timeline, typical process for our summer internships, we post the positions in September. We begin outreach, application review, and interviews throughout October and November. Our goal is to have these filled by the end of December, depending maybe early next year at the very latest. So yeah, that's the timeline. We can definitely, I see there's questions coming in. So I believe we have the panel next.
So
I would like to note that if you scan this QR code, you'll be brought to our Way Up career page. This, you can find all of our early career job postings, our internships, as well as our accelerator program and our MBA leadership development program.
So before we kick off the panel, I'd love to kind of hit two things that I think Madison and I both failed to mention. All of our internship roles are remote. So we are going for talent anywhere across the US. So does not matter where you're located. Most of our employees here at Experian are remote. So we are looking for any individual. You'll work wherever you want to work this summer throughout the US. And then the other piece is that chart that we showed that had the skill sets. That's not all of our roles. That's just how we bucketed them. So as Madison mentioned, analytics and software is kind of where we're at. That's where the bulk of our roles are, but we have things across our all of our divisions. So don't think that slide that we shared earlier is just the 15 roles or 10 roles that we're searching for. We've got more than that. So with that, would love to welcome our panel. So Pravesh, Taj, and Abby were all past interns with us. And so I'm going to hand it over to them to introduce themselves and share their experience, their journey from an intern through their current role. So let's start with you, Abby, if you wouldn't mind, and we'll just go Taj and then Pravesh.
Hi, everyone. My name's Abby Francis. My Experian journey started in my fall semester of my senior year of college, so fall of 2019, graduated in spring 2020. I'm originally from the East Coast, so outside of Philadelphia, and moved out to Southern California originally for college to attend Chapman University. And there I studied strategic and corporate communication with minors in public relations and graphic design. So before Experian, I held a few different communications internships at a regional nonprofit, at an e-commerce jewelry business, and a real estate agency. And I was brought on originally to Experian as an internal communications intern. And After about 8 months as an intern, as well as doing school, I became, once I graduated, a full-time internal communications associate. In this role, I got to work with a few different business units across Experian and conduct a few different internal communications projects. And after that, after about 5 months of that, I joined my current team, which is in our decision analytics B2B business as our product marketing and sales enablement specialist. And that's right now what I do. I develop marketing content, conduct market analysis, competitive intelligence research, and create strategies and tools to best engage with our sales team and clients.
Hello, everyone. My name is Taj Lakey. I am currently I'm in the product management accelerator program here at Experian. I started working at the company in October 2020 it was the fall semester of my senior year, so similar to Abigail. And I began as a product management intern. I was working under BIS, specifically working on a product that won funding through Experian Social Innovation Committee. And so the internship was supposed to last for about 5 months. After the 5-month period, there was a lot of progress that we were making on the product we were working on. And so my internship kind of just kept being extended until we finally ran out of funding for the product. But luckily, during the time that I was working as an intern, I began networking with a few other individuals in the company, specifically on the DEI side in HR. And so I went from being a product management intern in BIS to moving over to working under DEI. And so, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion for any that, might be confused by the term, but, and then ended up spending another 5 to 6 months in that role, was able to work with a lot of other teams within Experian that was honestly very fruitful for just getting to understand the company culture and getting to network with other individuals. And then a few months after being under DEI, I applied for the product management accelerator program, was accepted. And so I'm now about 5 months into that program. So very happy to be here.
Hi everyone, so I'm Parvesh Kaparapu. I'm an international grad student currently pursuing my master's in information technology and analytics in Rutgers. So I've started this internship in June, so this summer. So from then on, I still remember, getting access to various platforms, collaborating with different team members, and understanding and communicating with everyone. So that was really a great experience. And so from then, I worked on a couple of projects, and it was really amazing. And so as we were actually making good progress, and so when I started when there was when my internship was coming to an end, but my manager was making good progress, and he was not ready to leave me. So it kept getting extended, and it was great experience. Previously, before I joined this internship, I wasn't so sure whether I chose the right route, for my career. But then when my manager, with collaborating with my team members and my manager made me feel so comfortable, that helped me boost my confidence and work really good. And so then it kept it extended, and even now, my internship's been extended till March 2023. Then I came across this Experian accelerator role for the engineer side, and so I'm looking forward to that role, and I've been accepted by that role, which starts in June 2023. But it's really great in my experience. I've got to learn a lot, and looking forward to it.
Yes, Taj is still an intern, or not Taj, Pravesh is still an intern, but he'll be joining us in June in a full-time capacity. So we're excited about that. We have a question here for everyone on the panel. Sean wants to know, what is the most interesting project that you've worked on in Experian?
Sure. I can start us off. Recently, in my role, I run a market analysis and competitive intelligence program as part of like our, overarching analytics for marketing purposes. And through that project, I got to have the experience of taking it in our North America region where I'm currently running it, and pilot it in the UK. So right now I'm currently working with a UK team, a marketing team, to develop this program for them and regionalize it and make it relevant to their products. And I think what was the most valuable for me was just getting to kind of expand my role a bit. So not just doing, the day-to-day in North America, but also, taking our learnings, our best practices, and sharing it with marketing professionals across the business. And it's been really exciting to get to do, and the UK team has been great to work with. So that's probably my favorite project so far.
Yeah. So, like I said, I started working at the company as a product management intern, and just a little bit more context about me. In school, I studied, I majored in ethnicity, race, and migration, and I also was in the education studies program. So I graduated with a certificate in education studies. And so I think a lot of my professional pursuits have always been related to social equity, social innovation, wanting to, have a social impact of some kind. And so I would say one of the most interesting projects that I've been able to work on was actually a part of my internship experience. So in like I said, I was working on a product that won funding through Experience Social Innovation Committee. And so basically I was working as a market minority community market researcher. And so I was conducting interviews, surveys, doing market research, but related to car financing, and specifically the experience of discrimination within car financing. And so kind of looking at what are the pain points, what are the communities that are impacted by financial discrimination, and then working to build solutions around those issues. And so it was a really awesome experience to be able to take kind of the types of things that I was studying in school, but be able to apply it to this very real world setting.
So the project which I worked, which made me feel interesting, was the data prep project. As we all know that Experian provides credit report services. So the project which I worked on is basically, so we're migrating everything from the mainframe to the cloud. So there are different kinds of reports which needs to go through some rules and regulations and process the data and everything. So I would say that, and so I've implemented some of the reports, and it was really interesting. And I got to learn new things, which is COBOL code, which was used in 1970s and 80s. So that's really a good experience, and it was always good. It was really interesting. So
we have a question here. Do we sponsor international students? Yes, students, when you're here with us, you're on your CPT, sponsored by your school. But if we make you a full-time offer, we verify that with our legal team first to make sure that we can help you through the H-1B process. So we are able to sponsor some roles.
Someone also asked that since the internships are fully remote, will full-time return offers also be remote? Short answer is yes, for the absolute most part. That's not to say if you enjoy going into the office, that is an option for you. We have offices all across the United States. Many people, by their choice, go hybrid, but it is not necessary. We haven't seen a reduction in productivity. So that is something that, Experian is maintaining moving forward.
Here's a great question about culture. Someone asked a question about which part of the culture did you find most difficult to fit in, and how did you go about doing that? Maybe if one of you wants to talk a little bit about culture, that would be great.
For me, when I first joined, I was going into the office. So this was pre-COVID in 2019, and balancing, college and school and my internship at the same time. So I think the biggest challenge at that point was trying to get settled into the office culture, into the physical space itself, while, you know, driving back and forth quite often. So I feel like a lot of that has been mitigated with these remote options and flexibility and hybrid. So kind of shifting out of that everyday commute into more of the flexible has been really relieving, and I think is a great addition to the internship program.
I'll quickly say, I think one part of the culture that wasn't necessarily difficult to transition into, but definitely I just had to kind of recognize it is, I think Experian generally, most people here are extremely helpful and willing to, you know, provide feedback or, you know, give suggestions, advice, et cetera, et cetera. But you definitely have to be willing to take the initiative in reaching out. And I think that, you know, coming in, this was the first job that I had of its kind, fully remote, corporate, you know, so I think that, you know, my perception of what the corporate space was going to feel like was definitely something that I came in with, but then quickly realized how nice a lot of the Experian, you know, employees are. And so, yeah, I think that like getting used to reaching out, getting used to networking, but not like capital N networking, just really, you know, introducing yourself to other people was something that I think became very helpful once I got more comfortable with it.
So like Abby and Todd said that, so the work environment which my team members created was absolutely brilliant. Like whenever like this is my first opportunity in this professional career, and you know, whenever I'm stuck at a point or feel like I'm lost, I would just reach out to my team members and they would welcome me and, you know, help me guide through the process, and you know, definitely boost my confidence. And that's actually a good thing when, you know, when you're starting your career and you have people to talk to and help you guide through this process is really great and amazing.
Thank you. I want, there's a couple questions I just wanted to point out. Zach asked if there's a certain number of hours per week that he's expected to work. Our internships are full-time positions, so 40 hours a week. The specific time that you'll be working can be discussed with your hiring manager. But typically it's normal work hours. And also Priyana asked if it's too early to look for summer 2023 internships. No, we are currently hiring and reviewing resumes now as we speak, basically, and hoping to have offers out by the end of December. So it is not too early. If you're interested, I would apply as soon as possible.
There's another one here that says, can I apply to more than one role? Absolutely. We would ask that you apply to roles that you're qualified and interested in, though. So don't go applying to every and anything. Apply for ones that you're truly interested in, qualified for. Pravesh, there was a question here related to you as a software engineer. So you mentioned COBOL. Can you talk a little about, does Experian use legacy systems, and would knowing that give him an advantage in working in such systems? So can you talk a little bit more about maybe some of the tech stacks that you worked in?
Yeah, so knowing COBOL code is actually really a good boost, because you know, that's something which I didn't know when I started this you know, opportunity, and it was like really difficult for me to understand because it existed even before I was born. So it was really difficult for me to understand. And yes, some of the like Experian uses COBOL code in the mainframe, so they're still migrating it. They're still updating the mainframe to the, you know, the newer versions of languages like, you know, C++ and Java, everything. So yes, like knowing a COBOL is really a good thing, and you know, it definitely adds a boost to whoever's going to apply for that.
So question here, would it be better to apply on WayUp or the Experian website directly? So all of our roles for our early careers program, which include our internships as well as our accelerator program and our MBA leadership program, are through our WayUp platform. So you go to WayUp first, answer a few questions, and then it directs you to our company website to submit your resume. So go to the little hashtag, or the little QR code here, and you'll see all of all of our open roles. Was also a question here about, can you expand a little bit more about the accelerator program? So our accelerator program is a tech rotational program where we hire new graduates into one of 4 verticals. So software engineering, product management, UX, UI, or data analytics. And it is a 1-year rotational program where you rotate through 2 business units or 2 teams within a business unit. So it ramps you up in our tech stacks, as well as learning a little bit about Experian. We did a information session on that about 3 weeks ago, so you can go back and watch that on our company profile. You'll see it there. But that's our accelerator program that both Taj and Pravesh Taj is currently in, and Pravesh is joining us in June.
Nikhil asked, is the same timeline for full-time roles? Full-time roles outside of the early careers, it'll just depend on the position. We are a 20,000 person organization, so we have 7 different business units. Many of these teams are going to vary, so we can't give you a specific timeline on those positions. Those aren't ones that we're actively working on. Someone also, Natali asked, are there monthly bonding events for team members? I personally believe this helps motivate each other's work ethic. We have, last year we had our professional branding events, our volunteer event, where we worked as a team, as well as the executive lunch and learns. Those aren't as much, we're personal bonding with the team. So next year we're going to work on having more social events for our interns. And someone also asked, what is the interview process for corporate roles? Again, it'll vary depending on the team.
Another question here is, how long does it take you to hear back when you submit your application? We are in the thick of it now, so I would say fairly quickly, but we're at the mercy of our managers getting to the resumes after Madison and I screen. So our goal is to get back to you quickly, because we want to fill them quickly, but we will always make sure you hear from us one way or another. How many interviews are there in an internship role generally? I would say no more than 2 to 3. A lot of times it's your manager that you'd be working with, and then sometimes they ask you to meet with other members that you'd be working with along throughout your time. But some of our roles are 1 interview and done. So it's really by the manager, but I would say no more than 2 to 3 interviews for our internship roles.
How many interns did we hire last year, Justin? Do you remember at the top of your head?
We hired 50 last year, but we're projected to hire right around 75 this year. So we're increasing that. I saw a question here earlier that I couldn't get to. I don't know if you answered it, Madison, but the question was about our resume reviews and our leadership sessions. So our resume reviews and our leadership sessions are clearly for our interns that join us, but our interview sessions and our resume review sessions are where you sit down one-on-one with Madison and I, or one of our direct hire counterparts that help you look at your resume and beef it up for applying to full-time roles. But it's really all access to a recruiter to ask them any question you have about the interview and selection process. Experience, but also wealth of knowledge. A lot of our recruiters have been in the industry for many years, so they have just great knowledge on job searching.
Nora asked regarding interview process, how does the technical interview go? For more technical positions, generally, it'll start with a talent acquisition partner looking through resumes. If we want to move forward, we will send over a assessment through, is it Codality? Is that what it's called? Codality, where you'll be testing on competencies in the technical space. And if you move forward from that, you will go to not an in-person video, a video interview with the team.
So I saw a question here earlier as well, and they're saying kind of multiple versions of it of, I graduate in May 2023, am I eligible for an internship? Or I graduate in December of 23, am I eligible? Our internships are reserved for students that are currently enrolled and will be returning to school to complete their degree. So if you graduate in December of 2023, you absolutely can apply because you'll be going back in the spring semester or the fall semester to complete your degree. But if you fortunately for you graduate this May, you'll need to look for a full-time opportunity through our accelerator program or our MBA program. But you are not eligible for an internship, as you will have already graduated prior to starting with us in May or June.
Derek asked if this is a paid internship. Yes, we will compensate interns for their work.
Taj, there's a question here for you that maybe you can ask, or you should be able to answer. What distinguishes the experience and work you did in the accelerator program compared to when you worked in the product management? Wondering if they have that switched from what distinguishes the work from DE&I to what you're currently doing.
Specific clarifying question. Going from the product management internship to the accelerator, or specifically working in DEI to working.
So maybe it's product management internship to the accelerator.
Yeah. So in the product management internship, it was a lot more, I would say, like foundational in terms of learning what the product life cycle is. And so I think like I spent a lot of, like I said, I was mostly focusing on market research. And so it was a lot of like ideating, building the product from literally the research and assumptions and to like a wireframe that we could then pitch for funding, pitch for hackathon competitions. And so it felt very like ground level, you know, learning aspects of the product, learning aspects of like the research around building a product in general. But for the accelerator program that I'm currently in, I would say it's definitely more technical, as well as I think the processes are more defined because you know, I came into a team that's already pre-established, that already has a product that they're working on. And so some of the groundwork has been, you know, learning the product itself, and then kind of seeing how the different teams collaborate. And so how the content team works with the UX team, and how the product team, you know, leads sessions. And so I would say that going from the internship to the accelerator kind of just went from getting like a foundational baseline understanding of the product lifecycle to now seeing actively how the teams work together to build a product. Because ultimately with the internship, the product that we were working on, it didn't get built during the internship time, but it got, you know, developed during that time, if that makes sense.
So here's a question about one of our current interns. I think Pravesh, it probably relates most to you, as you were currently an intern with us, but it's around working remotely. So can you speak to more about what motivates you to work here, but also how did you solve the challenges of working remotely? So as an intern, that would be a great question you could end like, but I think Taj and Abby, if you have anything to add about working in a remote environment as employees. Abby, I don't remember if you were intern in person or if we were already remote whenever COVID hit, but Pravesh, if you could take that just from a current intern's perspective.
Yes, definitely, Justin. So yes, working remotely has been, very helpful, and the flexibility of working at any time is really good, because I have to manage between classes and the work. So sometimes when I have classes, so I would just attend the classes, and I would just say that to my manager so that he knows that where I am. And working remotely, also we'll have like multiple calls so that we are connected to each other, to the team members and everything, and there's a lot of communication. So it's pretty good actually. So every day there used to be calls and everything, so that we share our work, what's been done today, or everyday basis. So that keeps the team communicated really well, and understands where the project stands and everything together. So
I'll just add really quickly. I was an intern while the lockdown happened. So we went from being in the office 5 days a week, part-time, to all fully remote. And I will say Experian handled it with grace, and the transition was as smooth as any business could have handled it. And I think there were definitely a lot of resources available, as well as leadership being there and supportive for employees to, work flexibly. And it's definitely translated throughout the past few years. I've become a full-time employee and been on a new team. So definitely it was a good process to see Experian go through.
Calvin asks, do first year college students have a chance of being hired, or second or third years given priority? That's not to say that we wouldn't hire first year. Just those who are sophomores or juniors would have more experience, maybe another internship under their belt might put you ahead of the running, but not to say that that's not a possibility.
Question here about shedding some light on software engineering internships available at Experian. We have quite a few. You can see when you go on our website or on the Way Up site, they're segmented by full stack or Java or C#. So we have it by skill set. So there's multiple opportunities here based off of programming languages and skill set.
And I think Dennis asked, you applied in September. Are there newer openings I should look out for? You can just look at our Way Up page. You can see all of our early career open positions there. Is there a minimum internet speed required? I'm actually not sure about that. Do you know, Justin?
Nope.
We could get back to you on that. I don't know.
So what are typical start dates for December 23 graduates if they receive a full-time offer? If you join through our accelerator program, we start all of our candidates in cohorts, typically in June or April. But if you land a role outside of that program, the start date could depend on the manager. So very few of our roles have clear start dates, just given the volume there. I'm thinking this is referring to our application process. Is the message to the hiring manager the section of the application meant for cover letters? Yes and no. You can upload your cover letter, you can type it in there, or you can just highlight your skill set that most relates to the position that you're applying for.
I don't know. There's a few questions that are talking about the specific tech stacks. I don't know at the top of my head, but you'll be able to see on the job description what languages we're looking for, what solutions, what tools that is required. So you can find that on the job posting.
We use lots of different tech stacks here at Experian. There's not one that we use for every role, so it's we have multiple different ones.
Mm-hmm.
What about I'll ask the panel this. So what, if we haven't already covered it, but what's been your most rewarding experience, maybe as an intern, and for Abby and for Taj as a full-time employee, what's been your most rewarding experience working with us in internship or a full-time role?
I'd say for me, the most rewarding experience has probably been networking and just the people that I've been able to meet while employed at the company. Yeah, I think there's a bunch that I could probably list, but yeah, I think given, like I said, this being one of my first employment opportunities of its kind, I think I had a lot of preconceived ideas about what working in a very large financial services company, what that would entail. And so to be met with so many supportive people, like I said, my internship was extended several times, basically because of the connections that I made while interning and just getting to know people more. And so I would say generally the people that I've met have been extremely rewarding, as well as helpful towards my professional goals and trajectory.
Yeah, for me, the most rewarding part, I would say, is learning experience during this internship. Because like I said, before I started this internship, I wasn't sure whether I'm up to take this route as my career path as a software engineer. So I was literally, having mixed kinds of emotions, where I was nervous, scared, whether if I'll be able to overcome these challenges. But as the internship progressed, I was fortunately with the wonderful team and the highly knowledgeable team members. They helped me a lot. And when I was extended with the internship and accepted for the accelerator role, so it kind of gave me confidence, and I was kind of boost my confidence and made sure that made me believe that I will be able to do good in this field. So that's my most rewarding part of this internship.
Yeah, I definitely echo both points made. I think for me, as an internal communications intern starting off, I had the opportunity to meet with all of our teams across product and sales and marketing, and it was really rewarding to be able to understand the business as a newcomer, and get the opportunity to speak with leaders, to speak with new hires with every level. It's a very open culture and open to getting to network with people that you might not work directly with. So, yeah.
There's 2 questions in here about if they can update their resume after submitting. You should be able to log in and upload a new resume to that, as well as if you want to submit referral. But I'll tell you, we don't do referral checks until after you accept the role and we go through that background check process. There was a couple of versions of a question here about what would make me stand out. From a recruiter standpoint, I think that when your resume clearly meets the minimum qualifications of a role, but then also layers on that experiences that mimic what we're looking for, but also that leadership and that results orientation are big here. So anytime you can make sure that your resume is mirroring the job description and you have those skills, but then also are results driven in your resume, really makes, for at least my perspective, makes you stand out from multiple applicants. Don't know if you have anything else to add to that, Madison, but that's what resonates with me.
Yeah, I think that's good. Thank you.
Do you have webinars and other opportunities such as rotational programs? The 2 big ones that we have here are that accelerator program that I mentioned earlier, as well as the MBA rotational program, which we did way up sessions on earlier this month and end of last month. So you can go on our company profile and you can see the replays of that. All right. I think that has most of the questions in here. So I'll wrap it up with a final question to you 3 about what advice would you give these students as they search for their internships for the summer? Some of you have just completed it from the summer, and some of you a couple summers ago. But what advice do you have to them as they look for their next internship opportunity?
For me, I think in my personal experience, internships are meant to be learning opportunities. So I would say, as someone who came from external facing roles into an internal communications role, don't be afraid to try something new or try something that doesn't exactly fit what you think you want your career to be. So I never thought internal communications was a position at all, let alone a team of people. And then once being introduced to the hiring manager and the team and the day-to-day tasks, it ended up being something that taught me a lot about communicating to a new audience and being challenged in new ways. And it also ended up opening doors for my career, and being knowledgeable on the business and having a wide network is what ended up securing me that full-time position. So definitely don't be afraid to try something that might not be in your comfort zone. And I'd also say don't be afraid to share any of your work online. The reason I got my internship in the first place was because I had created a graphic design portfolio for a class project, which I didn't think much of. And that's why my hiring manager reached out to me, because she saw it online. So definitely don't be afraid to share your work, especially on LinkedIn. So, yeah.
Yeah, advice that I would say was important for me was being confident about communicating my passions. I think that 100% agree with Abigail. Internship opportunities are spaces for you to learn, spaces for you to grow, be challenged, do something that you may not have done before. But I think that regardless of whatever you do professionally, it's always important to have a clear sense of what your passion is, and being able to communicate that, I think, is important, because people are then able to know what it is that you like, the skill sets that you bring, also what it is that you want to be participating in. And so whether for instance, Experian was a new space for me, but my passions were around social innovation, around impact, DEI, and so I started in a product management role and still was able to do product management related things, but then could still incorporate other aspects of social innovation, social impact, and be able to kind of participate in several of these things because I was communicative about being interested and passionate about those things. And so from personal experience, I think it's important to make sure that you communicate that. And it may not automatically mean that you're going to get put into a role that fits that niche exactly. But I think it's important to, start to build that rapport with others, because when there's an opportunity that presents itself, that's like, hey, like, I know that this person was interested in this, like, you might be the person that comes to mind.
Yes, to add to that, say like you guys can always apply for multiple opportunities, and you don't have to be demotivated yourself if you don't hear from anyone, because that was a situation which I came up, because I've applied to many internships, and there were a lots of responses, like some of them were no responses and some of them were responses, but then there were rejections. But then so I didn't give up, and it really took like 2 months for me to get an opportunity, to land an opportunity. But then you never know what's going to happen. So it's always good to not giving up, and giving your 100% effort, and just you never know what great things lie ahead of you.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing your expertise and your stories about your time here at Experian. With that, we'll end, but I thank you guys all for joining us today. Again, go to the QR code here and you'll see all of our positions, and we look forward to seeing your application. But thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see your application soon. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.